Boston has many claims to be a hub of literature, and those assets are being placed on a map thanks to the Boston Literary District. To tell us about celebrating the literature of the past, present, and future is our guest from the district, the director, Alicia Abbott. Thank you very much for being with us, Alicia.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Start with the case in Boston here, what literature is. This is not just novels and poetry that we're talking about.
No, we're not talking about novels and poetry, although there are many very important novels and works of poetry that started here, but it's also, we're looking at the literary arts that include the newspaper arts, and a lot of the publications like Plowshares and the Atlantic Monthly and Colored American Magazine that were very influential. And we're also talking about theatrical arts as well. The theater district and Roger and Hammerstein sort of writing Oklahoma in the lobby of Theater on Tremont Street. So it's a wide range of important literary works that are born here.
I didn't know about Oklahoma until I saw that on your website, but one thing that I should have figured out a long time ago is that Ben Franklin was an important literary figure.
Yes, of course Ben Franklin was an important, I mean, we know him for his influence as an American, but also he was a fount of wisdom, and he was born in the literary district. He also was baptized at Old South Meeting House, which is within the literary district, and he's a very important American intellectual voice, of course.
Well, this is a district that people can explore on their own and talk about some of the sites. I mean, you have some favorites?
Yes, I have a few favorites actually. I'm a big fan. I don't know if you've been to the Omni Parker House on Tremont, but that's, I mean, aside from being a great place to get a martini, it's a very important place historically. Malcolm X was once a busboy there. Ho Chi Minh was a baker there before he was found his way into communism. Charles Dickens used to write there, and so just even sitting in a space like that, you can sort of imagine all of the people who passed through those doors. Similarly, Edgar Allan Poe was born in the literary district at Park Place. A lot of different cities claim Poe, notably Baltimore, but he was born in Boston, and so we have a statue that was erected 2 years ago that you can go visit in front of what's now Boloco, which is his former birthplace. And he has a raven on his shoulder, and he's carrying. It's about his sort of return to Boston. And it's what's interesting about it too is he has his back to the common because he sort of was critical of Boston's literary scene, especially the transcendental writers who he called the frog ponders. So, but we still claim him.
Well, I was at another one of your sites. I didn't know it was a literary site, Jacob Worth's, but the restaurant, and I guess there was a Jack Kerouac connection there.
Yes, that's right. Jack Kerouac had written about the restaurant. I mean, that's what's really amazing is if you go to our website, you'll see there's 88 sites in the literary historical district that you could sort of tour on foot, maybe holding your iPhone and reading about the sites. But a lot of what we like to consider that these sites are sort of like the fine cut crystal that's been handed down through the generations. But a lot of what's wonderful about Boston's literary community is what's happening now, and how much even within that district is working to nurture writers, to showcase writers of today and to nurture writers of tomorrow.
Well, talk about showcasing. You have a fun way to do that called Get Lit
That's
After
right.
Work.
Yeah, so we have a series at Faneuil Hall Marketplace that's called Get Lit After Work, and it starts at 6:30 every Thursday. We started on July 14th. We're running through August 18th. And we have writers like Kate Bollock. Tomorrow night is Michelle Hoover and Jennifer Haig. We have poets like Reggie Gibson and David Guillette. And each week, it's sort of a pop-up literary beer garden. So it's in front of the Cheers bar, and you can come, you can get a drink and sit down, or you could just sit down and have a glass of water. There's no push, but you're able to enjoy this, this literature and discussion in the open air.
We're talking with Alicia Abbott from the Boston Literary District. What do today's writers get from a district like this, or some of the events that you're trying to loop them into?
Well, we have a committee of executive partners that we work really closely with, including Grub Street, including Emerson. So, for example, we did in the spring a a story slam called Where I'm From. It was part of our Construction of Self series. And there we had students from Suffolk and writers from Grub doing a slam of spontaneous storytelling about identity and origins. And that's a way that people can come in and sort of take advantage of that. Or we are doing, actually this October, we're going to be collaborating with the Boston Public Library, which is in our literary district, for a Shakespeare Smackdown. And this is to coincide, you know, it's the anniversary of Shakespeare's death this year, and the library is doing an exhibition on Shakespeare, and so we're doing a character smackdown where we have students and local writers able to come in and prepare original text. So it might be Rosalind against Queen Cleopatra, or it might be Lady Macbeth against Othello's Iago, and it's sort of a insult smackdown, but that's run like a poetry or story slam, and it's sort of engaging students in this literature and making it feel very present.
Well, one of the other things I like about your website is you have a very handy way of letting us know when authors are anywhere around town talking about their work. How does that help?
Well, I mean, we like it to be sort of the go-to place to find out what's happening in literary Boston. And so we have on there, you know, the calendars for all the big local bookstores, which are really important, but also, you know, things that are happening in the cultural district at Boston Public Library, or at Grub Street, for example. Like there is, tomorrow night or Friday night, there's a Grub happy hour where they're going to have, you can come in for 45 minutes, free drinks and snacks, and you just do like free writing within this social environment to just write straight for 45 minutes with the instructor guiding you. And so this is sort of ways to I think really, and this is really important for writers, is to create a sense of community, because so much of the experience of writing is done alone at a desk. But in fact, there's a really terrific community of writers in the city who, I think, unlike in other cities like New York or even Los Angeles, it's very supportive here. And so this is sort of a way of bringing people together to inspire each other, to mentor each other, to work together. And so institutions like Grub, for example, that we partner with are really invaluable.
I think it's also interesting that you're getting people to confront literature in a hands-on way, which is not just by looking at a book, going to the St. Gaudens sculpture across from the State House. You learn the city's history. You learn about what Robert Lowell was writing about.
Absolutely, and and we're doing another thing that we're doing this fall is a lit crawl. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's happened in cities like San Francisco and Austin, but we're going to be having sort of a roving literary events all along Newberry Street. That people can go to it's on October 13th, it's right before the Boston Book Festival, but you just go site to site and see spontaneous literary happenings. So it might be Boston Improv, taking suggestions and improvising on literature, or it might be, whose voice is this, and people reading different literary voices, and you have to guess who it is. And so, this is a way of making literature not just something that would be found in academia that feels really remote and cold, but something that's present and alive and engaging and fun. And so we try to mix that in with, with these really important literary sites.
Well, we're at a time when more and more people are buying literature, from a tablet. They're at home by themselves. Not as many bookstores, and I guess if a store is going to survive, they got to have that community going.
Yes, absolutely, they do. And I think that also, people aren't interested in just sort of watching a writer stand up and read their work. They're really interested, I think, in engaging more directly and having something that feels kind of unexpected and spontaneous and creative. And I think that's so necessary.
Well, we should mention if people want to get some more details about what's happening and who and where, they have a website they can go to for that?
Yes, they can go to bostonliterarydistrict.com, and you can sign up for our newsletter. You can also follow us on Twitter. We also have a Facebook page. The newsletter we send to your email box each week, like some of the big literary happenings this month and this week.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Alicia Abbott from the Boston Literary District.